Oh, sorry about that, guys. There was a technical issue. So, back to what we were discussing. So, I was talking about the goals of the user. So, we highlighted about three goals for this particular user, which are the expiration date tracking, mobile notifications, and information on food safety, right? On food storage. To maximize food freshness. So, these are the goals. So, and we looked on the day we talked about the UX deliverables. We looked on the similar examples, and now we can try to come up with that. So, this is the frustrations, this is the goals, and you can also have some other information, but these are very very important. You can have information like user codes. So since we are mixing the user persona with the proto persona, we can try to come up with that. So this is for the first person, and we also have another person here. Let me see. Okay, this is the other person, is Mr. Gbemi, and he also lives in what, urban region. So he also has issue with misjudging food freshness and overbuying groceries. That's very very similar. And which of the following features would you? He also made mention of mobile app notifications. Would you like to? Also said yes. And this is all. Also, since we have very very similar stuff, I don't think it will be necessary to also work on that kind of thing. What will be the difference here would just be the name, right? So um let's go back to our Figma. Okay, let's go to survey our survey. If we can create a user persona from here, so let's take a look at the person here. Let's take a look at number one. So his name is John Lewis, and here is his email address. So we don't need that. He also lives in urban region, and he also said, how do you find throwing away food? He said always. That means this kind of user can be a great usage. So he clicked on every primary features, every reason here that causes food waste. That means he's the kind of person that has been in this shoe of food wasting. So he said he will be interested in a food waste tracking that track the expiration dates, right? So he clicked on the automated expiration date tracking. So that's his main focus on that app. Okay, so and he said he preferred the barcode feature. So if we can get something from this one, should be able to keep track of groceries not available. Okay, so if we can get a persona from this also, then we can try to add more information on it. So let me just say user persona one. So his name is John, right? John Lewis. And he also stay in a what, in a region area. Let's just give him something like uh, an engineer. Okay, let's just leave it this way. So the frustration he faces is what? Where is it? So he highlighted everything here. So let me see. Unclear expiration date, overspending on this thing. Which one can we add? Overbuying groceries. It's even here. Overspending on groceries. So he has about clear almost everything here, and then the expiration dates. He has everything here. Let me see what we can add. How about the goal? The main feature you wanted is automated date expiration date tracking. That's only what he made mention. All of these things are very, very similar. They are very, very similar. And also barcode feature, can add that. Well, it depends on how we are going to be compelling their story. That will talk more on the differentiation, right? Because they all have a particular aspect they has more priority on. They want more features to talk about. So he also said should keep track of groceries that are not available. That's another goal. So that's another goal here. So since we now have this, we have this very little stuff, we can proceed. Okay, so we've been able to come up with a user persona, though we've not elaborated on that, but we've been able to do something. Okay, I'm coming. So what we have left now is to try to come up with a user flow, kind of a user flow, since we have our information architecture, we have the user persona. That's another kind of UX deliverable. So but there is a particular uh, kind of research I want us to work on together, which is the competitive analysis. So I will be given that as an assignment, but I also definitely will be working on it. So prior to the next class, we'll be discussing on that. So competitive analysis is a kind of research whereby you go out there to look for a related platform that showcases the features you have in mind, the features you want to have on your own design also, and like I mean a live platform that is being launched already that people are using. So you are going to be making research on some key things, which are the weakness of that platform, how weak it is, what users are complaining about it, and also their strengths. Okay, what users love most about it, what makes them unique, right? That's another thing. And also we have what's it called, their key features. What are the key features that users are complaining on, or which users prefer most? Okay, so those are kind of things that will make you understand that this particular kind of platform that you are creating won't just be a kind of a stock platform, in a situation whereby you will have unique features on it, okay, that will make it different from other ones, and that will acquire customers to using that app. So that's a kind of an approach we used to take note of, because if you are saying you are creating a new app, that doesn't mean people have not worked on that. you can you can name any app, any kind of idea you have in mind that people have not worked on. You can never say that. So what we are doing is just to try to twist and try to make our own unique, or make a difference, make some difference on the platform. That doesn't mean that kind of app that possesses that kind of feature does not exist. We are just working on something that will make it more unique and that might acquire users. So that's why we create that kind of research, a competitive research. So just to understand clearly about what users do, and what users like about those previous platform. So definitely their weakness will be our own strength. Okay, since we know that user face this kind of weakness while using this app, that will be our own strength. Okay, so just to make it unique. Now let's quickly talk about today's slide, which is on UI design elements. So before going to the research again, our design project, sorry. So what is UI design element? So these are kind of things you see on your design. Everything you see on your design is attached with design elements. So is either your typography, the text you are seeing, or the images you are seeing, the buttons. Those are design elements. The button you are seeing, the what's it called, anything on the platform, anything you are seeing is a design element. So you can name something a design element: image, text, the color, a block, a kind of button, accordion, anything. They are what? Design elements. So now, what's design element? These are the building blocks that make up the design of an interface. So what makes up the design of an interface is called design elements. They act as a what? As a touch point through which users interact with the product. So everything you are seeing, everything you are touching, everything you are interacting with, they are what? They are called design elements. Examples are input control, navigational elements, informational elements, buttons, tables, and forms. So on these examples, these are just kind of categories of the design elements. They are being subcategorized into some other concepts. So let's take a look at the first one, which is navigational elements. What is that navigational element? So as the name implies, navigational element is a kind of element that helps you move around, that helps you navigate over the words on the platform. So now these are sets of elements that users interact with in order to what? To navigate the product and fulfill their goals, in order to achieve their goal, in order to complete a specific task. These are the elements they click on, like your menu bars, which involves your home, your profile, your goals, your search, and the like. So that's a menu bar. So these are sets of commands. You can have your sidebar, you have your header, you have footer, you have drop down. So those are elements that helps you navigate. So if you click on a drop down, you definitely know that it will bring out some other options. So before clicking on anything, you also have your footer. On that footer, you have so many things there. You have your header. How does your header looks like, which contains some elements like your home, your get started on some websites where you can see your login to, and you also have sidebars. So we also have breadcrumbs. We have paginations. Paginations divide content into pages. When you have when you click on something that brings a kind of a what a division of two pages, that's a pagination. So we have so many examples of navigational design elements. So I'll be taking you through the a case study, kind of a study of this design elements, where you can get to understand every kind of elements. Okay, so we also have tag. Tag is used to find content belonging to the word, to the same category. We have so many of them. We know all of these things, just that the name might just be something new. Okay, but we know almost everything here. So then we also have what's called informational elements. So informational elements are basically elements that provide feedback to users at every point of interaction with the product. So as the name implies, it gives us what? It provides information to users. When you click on something, you get to know more about that. Okay, that's where you read about properties of some elements, about their information related to that element. So an example is your tooltip. So tooltip is whenever you hover on something and that element brings out some kind of information about that. So it's mostly on our desktop views, on our desktop website. When you hover on a particular element, it tells you, it brings out a kind of a pop-up to tell you about the name of that icon, for instance, and what it's doing there. And we also have dialog box. Dialog box is a small rectangle UI element that provides information to users and require them to take action before going to another thing. So peradventure, when you click on a particular element or a button, for instance, when you click on that, you see a kind of a pop-up that will show on your screen, will tell you what you want to do, and will also contain elements like the button that can take you to another thing. So definitely when something pop up, you see a button that will take you to the next stage. Okay, so that's a kind of a dialog box. It's a kind of a in a box shape, right? So a small rectangle. And we also have accordion. Accordion delivers large amounts of content in a small space. So let me show you something. I think it might be that you don't really know. Maybe I'm saying much. So material design. Material design is a kind of design. Okay, so this is where you can find every design element. Okay, so we call this a design system, right? A design system usually involves contains design elements, style guides, and the likes. But before we get to the styles, we can just take a look at the components. Okay, so I talked about dialog box, right? So this is how dialogues looks like. Let me show you. So this is it. So peradventure, you click on an element here, and something will pop up that will take you to another screen. So if you click on anything, you'll be able to see a kind of OK button here, or any other kind of button. So definitely this box will take you to another step, right? So that's the dialog box. We also talked about tooltip, right? Let me show you what tooltip is. So if you want to explore this, you can check material design. Okay, just to understand that. So this is what tooltip looks like. So maybe when you hover on this icon, it will show you the information of that icon, right? So it is mostly attached to icons. So that's what a tooltip looks like. So these are elements, and these are what you have on your screen, right? These what you definitely have on your designs, so and so on. So if you are looking for anyone, or you are just hearing a particular one, for instance, you can check this material design website. You'll be able to see everything. So back to our slide. So we also have progress bar, we have cards, we have modals. So if you are if anyone is trained to you can just go there to check and explore. Then another kind of design element we have is the input control. So input controls is they are interactive element that allow users to enter information into systems interface. So example is like your name input. Maybe when you want to fill a particular form, okay, what you see there, the name input, that input is a kind of design element. Okay, so inputs are actually created to get information of users, to get users information. We also have the checklist. The checklist is where you maybe sometimes when you have filled the form finished, you agree on something. That box is a checklist. It's called checklist. Okay, so we also have toggles. Yeah, we also have radio buttons. So radio buttons is where you are given a particular form to fill, and you are given different kind of options. So you click on a particular one to choose a particular one. That's a radio button. We also have toggle. Toggle is when you just what's it called, mark on something. Maybe you can mark a yes or no, something like that. We also have date and timekeeper. Those kind of inputs are required to get users information, to get users details. We also have search fields. Okay, your search field, what maybe when you want to search for anything on your interface, search for anything on your interface. We also have text field or input fields. Then we have forms. So forms is like the complex collection of input fields. So in any form you have information like name, email address, and some other information. So that kind of input field is called a form that include inputs. Okay, name inputs, email inputs, and so on. Then we also have buttons and tables. So buttons are just like your normal button, right? Where whenever you click on that button, it performs a particular action. So buttons allow users to take actions and make choices with a single tap. So when you click on something, what happens next? It might take you to another stage. So examples of buttons we have disabled buttons. So disabled buttons are buttons that maybe whenever you are filling a particular form and you haven't completed that form, that required questions, you haven't answered it, that button will be in a disabled form. That means it soon be clickable, right? We also have transparent buttons. We have active buttons. We have outline button. Active button is your normal button, the one that whenever you click something happens definitely. We also have outline buttons. So outline buttons is just different in the design, whereby you just have an outline of your buttons. We also have over buttons. So whenever you hover on a button, what happens? Okay, like for the this kind of approach is used for our tooltip. So tooltip is not whenever you click on it, no, it's when you hover on it, what happens. So that kind of buttons, when you hover on it, for instance you just hover on in a particular thing, something happens. Okay, so we also have that's about buttons. We also have different kind of buttons. Okay, then we have the tables. What are tables? Tables are design elements that display different data to the users in a what, in column and rows. We all know what columns and rows, a vertical and a what, horizontal line. So we also use that to what, to display information, okay, to display some set of different data on the screen. So that's about the design elements. The design elements we have, we talked about navigational elements that we use to navigate all over the screen. We have the informational elements. These are elements that contains information to users, okay, that shows, that display information to user. We have input controls where users enter their information, where users insert their information, and we have forms, the collection of what input controls are. And we talk about buttons and tables, buttons, disabled buttons, active button, transparent button, outline, and so on. Then we talked about tables. Tables are design elements in form of column and rows that display different data. So let me show you something. So let's take a look at something on the design element. So if you come here, for example, which kind of design element? Okay, this is a tooltip. Okay, so a tooltip is when you hover on something, and this is a kind of hovering, but it's not displaying the information about this thing. But this is what hovering means, when you hover on something. So then you can get to read about what that design element is. So you can use tooltip to add additional context to a button or other UI elements. So maybe what users are saying on the screen, you can definitely add some other information that are not visible. So we have two types of the tooltip. You have a plain and a rich tooltip. So I think the plain tooltip is used to describe elements or actions of icon buttons, while rich tooltip is to provide more details, like describing the value of a feature. So a plain tooltip is like when you hover on something, you just see, maybe for instance, when you hover on something, oh, let me show you. Come in. Okay, for instance, this is a plain tooltip. When you just hover on it, it tells you the name of that stuff, just a brief of that particular icon. But when you hover on some other one, like this one now, when you hover on it, you can see it brings out the whole description of that icon. Okay, so that's just the difference. So you can have a plain and a rich tooltip. Then rich tooltip can include optional title, link, and buttons. So that's that. So that's about the tooltip. You can read more about it. So we also have more here. We have a slider. What's a slider? So you can see a slider is used to indicate the overall progress of a particular element. So you can say maybe you want to increase the media volume, and you can come here to read about it. We have the discrete and continuous styles. We have the and slider is used to present the full range of of choices that are available. We have so many of it. You can come here. So this is a continuous slider, while this is a discrete slider. So these are resources, some other resources. So if you want to open it on Figma, you can just click on this. It will take you to Figma, and you get to you can see those elements. So sometimes some people don't create design elements, they don't work on that. We have some designers that are more professional in that aspect, but as a UI designer, you should be able to work on the design elements too. So it depends. So mostly on how to create this design element, we'll be talking about design components, talking about variants of designs. So let me quickly show you something on our screen, our Figma file. So we haven't designed anything yet, but we can still come up with something. So I want to take you through something known as auto layouts. Okay, auto layouts. So what is auto layout used for? We're going to be discussing that now. So auto layout is a kind of approach that is, I think, is only on Figma. I don't know. We might have it on some other platforms too, but on Figma is known as what? Auto layout. So, and since we are working on Figma, that's best for us to call it auto layout. So auto layout is mostly used to kind of organize elements, organize different elements, okay, in a particular section, in a particular container. So for example, if I want to create a button, okay, let me name this a button. So for example, if I want to create a button, you know, a button usually has a background. So if you look at this button, it has a what? A background, right? But without bringing in a rectangle before you now create a button, you can create a button with the help of auto layouts. Okay, so auto layout is you can get auto layout by right clicking on this. So by clicking on this and you come here to add auto layout, it's not even here. Okay, but we have another option to get that done. Let me quickly write that out. So by clicking on Shift A, you are going to get your what? Your auto layouts. So if I click on Shift A now, Shift A on your keyboard, you can see it has created a container for it. So here is where you can see the properties of that auto layout. Okay, so you can see the property here. The first thing we have here is, if you click on this, the auto layout will be removed and it will turn that to normal frame. Okay, so if you click on this now, before clicking on it, if you come here, you will see a kind of a what? 3-stroke here, right? So but if you click on this delete, it will change to something like this. Okay, so let's click on Ctrl Z back. So this is auto layout. That's the first property here. Then we also have vertical layout, horizontal layout, and wrap. So let me explain it. So vertical layout is when you organize elements inside a container in a vertical row, in a vertical order. So for example, if I click on this word button and I duplicate it, okay, so since this one is on horizontal layout, then it will be arranged horizontally. But if I click on this vertical layout, it will be arranged vertically. You can see horizontal, vertical, right? So let's stick to this horizontal. Then we also have wrapping. So wrapping is used to contrast or expand your auto layouts in a particular width, and in a particular fixed width and what? Fixed height. So if you are using wrap, if you click on this wrap, nothing will happen yet. But if you go to org, org is used to, so I didn't explain that. So we have on the width and the height, we have what is called org and fix. Org and fix. So if you click on this org, that means that container should expand should expand and contain everything inside it, irrespective of the weight, irrespective of the height, should contain everything inside it. But if you click on fix, that means you are giving that container a fixed weight. Okay, you are giving it a fixed weight, that if anything exceed this weight, then that thing should flow out or something like that. So everything should be within this fixed weight. So if you come here and reduce this fixed weight, because I want to explain what wrapping is, if you reduce this fixed weight to a particular weight that will not contain these two elements, this first button 1 and button 2, that will not contain it, wrap will contrast it. Okay, let me just reduce it to something like 80. So you can see it has reduced the weight and brought the second button to the downside. But if you are on vertical, horizontal for instance, definitely it will just spread out and it won't look good. Okay, that's just how it works. But let's go back to wrapping. Okay, this is now how wrapping works. So if you just come here and extend it in to about 160 or 164, you can see that it will just align it in what horizontal. So if you have about 4, you can see when I duplicated it, it just brought it down. So if you extend it, you can see one is still at the bottom, and if you extend it, you can see so and so. So that's the work of what wrapping in auto layouts. So let me just delete all of this. So we have one here. Let's use org. So now on this container you can also give it a radius. Okay, so let me just give it a fill first so that we'll be able to see what is inside that. So let's give this something like this so that we'll be able to see it very well. Now what's the use of this radius? It's called corner radius, right, or border radius. So if you give it something like 8, you can see a radius, you can see we have a corner radius of 8. So it depends if you give it 20, 30 and the like. So let's just stick to this 8 first. So now when I was explaining the fixed width and fixed height, I didn't mention what this clip content is used for. So let me duplicate this word button first, and since we are working on a hug width, it will definitely expand. But now let's stick to what fixed width. Okay, so let's reduce it to something like 80. Okay, it is still on wrap. Let's give it a horizontal layout so that we'll be able to understand what clip content is. So clip content is whenever you click on something, everything that exceeds that container will not show. That is what clip content is used for. So everything that exceeds the width will not show. So if you click on this clip content back, everything will be back. But if you click on content, clip content, then it will just put everything within that. Everything that exceeds that container will not display. So let me click on Ctrl Z. So let's stick to this. Now we've been able to understand what fixed width and hug width is. So the same goes to the fixed height and hug height. So and we understand the corner radius and clip content now. Now let's stick to horizontal layouts. Leave wrapping first. Now what this is used for, this rectangle is used to align that component inside the container. So in this container now, the component is aligned in the center, aligned center. So we have align left, we have align right, We have align top right, align top center, align top left, align bottom left, align bottom center, and what, align bottom right. Any way you want to align your container, your elements inside the container. Now we have what is called spacing here, or gap. So if for instance you have two elements, let me duplicate this word button. So now we have two elements inside this container. Now the spacing between them is 10 here. The spacing between them is 10. So if we increase it to something like 20, it will increase. Okay, you can see it there. So let's go back to 10. That's just how it is. But here, if you come back to this drop down button and click on auto, auto means that everything should spread out. Okay, but before we go into auto, let me explain more on this. So let's go back to our normal button size. Let's duplicate this. Okay, so now we have this. Before we go into auto, so that you need to understand this first. Now this is called the horizontal padding, the padding at the top. The padding at the what, at the edge, sorry, that's what is called horizontal padding. Okay, that's the padding, the distance between this element to the left side. The distance here is what, is 10, and to the right side too is 10. So, and also we have, if you increase it now, if you increase it to something like 20, you can see it expand. Okay, and the distance expand. Okay, so let's go back to 10. But 10 is the default state. Then we also have the vertical padding here, the padding at the top, right? You can see whenever I'm hovering on it, it's indicating that padding at the top. So it is 10. So if you increase that one too, it will definitely increase. Now, but if you want to customize it, that you want to give the maybe the left horizontal padding a specific size, and the left a specific side and the other, so you can just come here and customize it. So you can reduce the left, you can increase it, and the likes. So that's how it is. Now let's talk more about the auto layouts. The auto. So if you click on auto means everything should spread out. Okay, it doesn't care about the distance between them. But how we can achieve that is that we have a fixed width in an auto spacing. We have a fixed width. So what makes it different is that maybe whenever you reduce this width, the horizontal padding, to something like 5, you can see that the button spacing extend and it pushed out the element to the side. Okay, and if you increase it to something like 20, it will bring them very, very close. You can see they are even merging together, and that's not how it should be. So let's stick to something like what, 10. Okay, so that's the spacing, but that's the usefulness of auto layout. So if you are working on a particular screen, you know that, for instance, this screen is, we are using the grid of 20 by the side, and you want to have this button by this side and this one by this side. This element here, this word button, by this side, and this other one by this side. What you just need to do is to come here, since you know the width of the screen. Okay, the width of the screen is 390, and you have 20 padding here, 20 padding here. That makes it what, 40. So 40 in 390 will give you 350. So what you just need to do is put this align it here, and you just need to increase this one. Since we are on auto, you just need to increase this towards 350. You can see everything has extend to that 350. Okay, that's the work of auto spacing. That's why we use it most often. Okay, that's how you can use auto spacing. So you now understand what auto layout is now, right? Now let me take it back to 10. Now what I want us to work on why I come to the auto layout is, okay, let's give this org, is to discuss what component is. Okay, hope I'm still on. Or is there any question for now? Is there any question before we proceed? Okay, let's discuss what auto component is. Okay, so since we've discussed auto layout, let me just duplicate this because I'll be needing it. Okay, so let's work on what's it called, components. This button is for auto layout. Let's just keep it here. Components, components and variants. Okay, what is component and variants? Now, for instance, if you have this button, so components are like assets that you have on your platform, on your Figma file. So assets, you know what assets means. So assets are being stored for you to be able to use it whenever you want to use. Okay, so now for instance, if you want to keep this button as an asset on this file, so anywhere you are on the screen you can just get it. Okay, so if you want to click if you want to make it an asset, let me get down, you make use of your words. Is either you come here to this for kind of kite button, or you press Ctrl Alt K. Ctrl Alt K. Okay, so Ctrl Alt K is used to get your words, your is used to make a particular element a component of that file. So whenever let me click on this button, let me make this button a component first. So by just clicking on this, it will change, it will make it a component, right? So definitely it will change the color to something like purple. I mean the outline color, the color of the, you know, previously we have something like blue. Okay, so blue at the edge, so it has changed this to what, a component. So where you can get this component is by coming to this assets. Okay, just click on this assets and you'll be able to see it here under this frame. Okay, so I've been able to see this button. I can just drag it out. Okay, by just dragging it out, I'll get it on the screen. So this is how you can get your words, your assets. Okay, let me delete that first. So whenever you have it, if you delete it here, the main component, if you delete it here, it will definitely delete on the asset. So let me delete it. You can't find anything on the asset. Let me click Ctrl Z to have it back. Okay, definitely you have it back on your screen. So that's how assets works. You can get everything. So if you just click on Ctrl Alt K, you can make anything your asset. So whenever you are needing it on your design, you can just go to assets and drag it. You can also find it here. So here is the thing. If I name this button, okay, by just clicking on assets, okay, it is named as button. But if I don't if I can't see it here, I can just search for it, button. Okay, it will definitely bring it out anywhere it is on the Figma file. Okay, so that's how you can get your assets. Now what I want to talk about mostly is the components, the component and variant, and I want to use button as an example. So going back to our Figma, our slide, on the button we said that we have disabled button, transparent button, active button, outline button, hover button, and the likes. So let's create some variants of button. So now this is the main component. Let me, for instance, let's change this color to something like background of blue. Okay, let's make it blue now, and we should change this black to white, okay, so that it will look good. Now here is the thing, since you have made this a button and now you want to create different variants of it, so by just clicking on this icon you can add variants. Just click on it. Okay, so this is another variant of this button. Right, now you can now customize it. When you say something is a variant, right, that means it has a little difference from the previous one. So let's change this color to something else to make it a kind of a disabled button. So whenever you see it, you know that I think this thing is disabled. Okay, it is not clickable. So definitely what makes it different is the color. So if you have something like this on your screen, you know that this kind of button is what is disabled, right? So this is an example of disabled button. Okay, now let's add more. Let's add more. Now on this button, okay, here is it. This is disabled, right? You can just come here and change it to what? Disabled button. Okay, that's how you can have that. Okay, now you want to make this one an outline button. You know that outline is when you have a kind of a stroke, okay, without a fill, right? That's what outline is. So we will be changing this let me copy this color first. We'll be changing this blue to, we'll be removing this one, okay, that means it does not have any fill, and we'll be changing the white to something like blue, right, and we're giving it a stroke of blue also. Okay, so this is an outline button. That's another variant. So let's name it outline. Okay, you can just come here and name it outline. So this is another variant of that button. Okay, we have so many. So we also have another one. Sometimes we often call that a kind of a secondary button, sometimes, or transparent button. So let me design it. Okay, let's have something like this. When you have a kind of a faded background, but this the elements inside it is what is seen. Okay, let's change this to something like this. Coming. Okay, this is an example of a transparent button. Let me name it transparent. So it doesn't mean that it is not clickable or is disabled, but this is an example of a disabled button. You can see whenever you have something like this, it looks like is a disabled action. So this is just how you can create different variants. So a typical example is the button. So you just have to be clicking on add, okay, till you have all your variants needed. So, and you can name it also. So the overall everything here is button, right? And we have transparent, we have disabled, we have outline, and we have the default. So the default is the active. Let me name it active. Okay, let me name it active button. Okay, and sometimes you might also have icons inside those buttons, but yeah, you might also have icon inside it. Now that you have something like this, okay, so let me even give you an example of that icon. Let me bring in one icon with the help of our iconify. So let me just bring in arrow, something like that. Okay, just to, okay, let me put in this one. Now I have this arrow here and I want to put it inside my button, but I want another variant, right? So I just need to add that button and then bring in this arrow inside of it. Okay, let me extend this so that you can see it better. Now inside of it, so you can see the auto layout properties, we've talked about that, and you can see it is variant 5. So let me just say active plus icon, something like that, just to make it known, that to understandable. It's an active button, but also what, it has icon. Now let me just make this, okay, white, sorry, okay, so that you can see. So that's another variant. So we have so many. If you want different icons, you can just put it there. So, and the thing is that being what's it called, a variant now, I mean a particular component, whenever you use this component on the screen, okay, let's say for instance, let's go to our desktop screen. So, and let's get our button. Let's just bring it out. Now this is our initial button. Okay, so maybe we want to use another variant of it. So another variant of it is, we have disabled, we have transparent. So if you want to use disabled, you can just come here, you can see a drop down, you will see all the properties. So I have disabled, I have outline, I have transparent, I have active icon. Okay, so I can just pick anyone. So let me choose this disabled first. Okay, let me hide this grid system so that it will not show by clicking on Shift G. Okay, now this is my button, this is my disabled button. Okay, so I can change it. I can say, I can decide to use icon, active plus icon. It will definitely change. Now the thing is that if you customize this, if you edit these previous components, if you edit them, okay, for instance, let me pick another icon. For instance, let me bring in another icon. Now I now want to change this previous icon to this. What I need to do is just to come here and put in that one and delete this. Right now I want to make this white also. Just come here and make it white. Now I have changed it, right? So if you go back to whenever you use that icon, that button, you will see that it has changed. So you don't need to be customizing, you don't need to be editing since you have a source. Okay, whenever you have used that button, if by mention you have used that button in about 100 screens, you don't need to be going to each one and be editing it. Just go to your component where you have that component and do what, just change it, edit it there. It will definitely affect everything. So that's a what, that's the usefulness of components and variants. Hope there is no question. I mean, hope is understood. Do you have any question? Is there any question before we proceed? So that's that about components and variants. So we've been able to understand what auto layout is, and what components and variances. So this auto layout is not only used for buttons only, you can also have it on your design. So as the time goes on, we'll be using it in our design. Okay, so I'm expecting question.